Hey guys, I wanted to make a quick video on how I set up my steering for speed passes. It's going to be a pretty quick video just to kind of go over how I do things and how I set up for my speed runs. So first things first, I go into my, let's see here, I'll go into my sub trim settings. Right now I currently have it set at 19, and basically I prop the car up and I check the steering. I look at it straight on, and I can kind of play with it going back and forth. Right now I have it set at 19, but you can kind of see how the wheel moves depending on whether I go left or right and stuff like that. So right now I have it set at plus 19. That's pretty straight for me. Everybody else is probably going to have a little bit different and stuff like that. So, but that's my first setting that I do, is I adjust my sub trim to make sure that's correct. Once I do that, I will jump over to, let's see here. I'll jump over to my endpoint adjustments. So right now I currently have left at 35% and right at 37%. And again, endpoint adjustment, super important. Once you start setting the car up, you just don't want to over torque that servo. So at 100%, I'll just kind of put it in so you can kind of get an idea of how far left this will turn if you don't make these adjustments. Let's go 100%. At 100%, I'll switch that over, and I'll go over the switch situation here shortly. But you can see how much strain I'm putting on the servo by just doing something like I actually hate doing that just because it looks pretty crazy. So what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and drop back down to 35%. And you'll see the big difference as far as how far left I can turn it. Once I bring that down to 35%, you can see it's just not turning nearly as hard and overworking that servo. So right now it's at 37% to the right, and you can see how well that turns without over torquing the servo. So next thing is, let's jump over to steering speed. So right now I have my turn set at 100%. I tend to not mess with my turn speed, but I do mess with it on the return. So this is something that's just my preference. But what I have set up here is at 45%, and I will just crank this up to 100% so you guys can see exactly what I mean, or at least have an example of what it looks like when it's at the 100% and what it would look like at 45%. So at 100% you can see how quickly it lines up straight again. For some people that works out perfectly, and you know, no issues there. That's just their style. For me, I prefer to kind of have it ease back in. I don't like the whole jerkiness of steering, especially when I'm going that fast. So my preference is to drop that down. I think I had it like, I think it was like around 40-some%. So let's just put it at 45%, see what that looks like. Yeah. So I just kind of like having a smooth transition. And the smooth transition is more, once I'll get into that in a second, as far as like how I set up my steering, my dual rates and stuff like that for my steering. But essentially is, as I reduce the amount of steering when I'm doing my speed run, that slower transition going left and right, it just makes things so much smoother and easier on me. So let me just jump over to that and how I set up my dual rate. So I'll jump over to my dual rate. So right now I have it on SWC, which is the switch over here. So basically what I'm doing is, right now it's at 100%, but if I flip that switch, I have it set to 60% center, and then down it's at 15%. So at 100%, you can see I have the full turning radius. But when I switch it to 60, you see I have less play. But now when I come to 15%, which is typically where I have it set, well actually not typically, this is just where I have it set when I do my speed runs, you'll see that the play is very, very low. And this is just me full commit on the remote with my steering, and that's all I have to work with this setting at 15%. But again, like if I turn real hard and I completely let go, you can see how it eases back in versus just immediately jerking back to the straight position. And that's why I like it. I like it to just kind of be a smooth transition when I straighten it out, because that's typically how I'll steer. I'll just, if I notice the car is heading to the left, I'll just immediately go like that and let go, or go like that and let go. So then it'll just smooth into a straight position rather than just immediately jerk into the straight position. So that's how I have my switches set for my steering. And that's pretty much it. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. Let's see. I don't think there's anything else. Oh, and also, like, once I have my sub trim set, once you go and you start making your run, typically what I do here is I'll make my adjustments on my steering right and left, depending on how the car is running. Once I have my sub trim set and I see that the wheels are aligned as straight as can be, I'll go into here and adjust my steering left and right as needed. But that's all I have. I will, I'll pop up some videos, or I'm sorry, I'll pop up some images on screen, just kind of detailing where I'm at with the Vendetta. And I actually made some changes over here to the Limitless. And I added the Scorched RC spool with the drive shafts. I also added some grommets in here to reduce the play. I also added it here in the axle as well. You're probably not gonna be able to see it, it's off screen, but in the rear axles, I put some grommets in there as well to kind of alleviate some of that play that's back there. Eventually I'll be upgrading the batteries, just saving up some money to get that. They're pretty expensive. So once I get those batteries, oh, and also in the future, we'll definitely be getting an XLX too. I'm just trying to do things gradually, just kind of see how things progress and how much faster the car goes by making some, you know, small adjustments here and there. So right now I just want to run the car with the current setup how it is, since I did hit 135 with this current setup. So the only thing that I've done differently now is added the titanium drive shafts with the titanium spool, still on the stock spool gear, the stock one for the V2. And I did add foams, which are a little larger than the GRPs I was running previously. So I'm expecting to pick up maybe a couple mile an hour. I don't know exactly, but definitely over 135 with how it sits. And I'll go into detail more once I get the car back out there and running, as far as the difference that this spool makes and these drive shafts make. The weight difference is actually pretty significant, especially with the spool. But I'll go into that in another video once I get the Limitless back out again. Thanks again for watching, guys. If you found this educational in any way, if you plan on doing this in the future, let me know in the comments. Or if you have a setup or a way that you guys do your steering. And I'd be interested in knowing how you guys go ahead and set up your steering for speedruns. But yeah, this is just kind of like my way of doing it, and it works for me. If you have any questions or comments, just leave them below, and I will catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.